Okay, so once again, the same disclaimer. Um, this call is being recorded and we place our recordings on our YouTube channel. So if you don't want to be recorded, you may want to drop off now. And this call is joined by our Microsoft team members as well as members from our customers and partners. So with that, good morning and happy Friday. Thank you for joining. And today's topic is about some of the app service updates. And they are kind of a pretty significant in a sense that they're kind of expanding those app service capabilities to uh, different tiers, making it kind of a more broad appeal, especially, I mean, when we talk about the networking side of it. So, just like we always do, as a part of our quick agenda, we are going to do a quick level set on what we are talking about, and then we will go over each feature. And I have some slides, but they are mostly for reference. Mostly, it's going to be demo. So what we are talking about? We are talking about app service, which is I mean, if you don't know, it's Microsoft platform as a service uh, to host your web application. You can write your web application in any language like .NET, Java, or if that if the language support is not there, you can basically um put it in a container and host it. You can host it on Linux, Windows, all of that. So it's very popular, and the area that we're going to be focusing on with two of these updates, sorry, the two of these updates is around the network capabilities, or I should have said networking capabilities, but in any case, so first of all, understand that um, what is what are the two key things with app service. So app service, when we talk about it, when we talk about its networking um, capabilities, and what that means is the ability to access it over a private endpoint, or its ability, app services ability to access resources inside a VNet. These are two different uh, features. One is more on the front end side of it, where you have private endpoint. It allows you to access an app service over a private IP. So you have an app service running in somewhere in multi-tenant environment, and you create a private endpoint to it. And at that moment, you can access that app service from that VNet over a private endpoint. And just keep in mind at that moment, your app service is not accessible over public internet. So, and by the way, this capability has nothing to do with app services ability to access resources on the back end, um, inside or outside the VNet. So let's say that you have an app service that needs to access resources in a VNet. Doing a private endpoint will not do anything to it. And that, uh, for some reason, that question has come up so often that, with my customers, that I have to talk about it, because a number of times they say, oh, we did the private endpoint, uh, but for some reason we cannot access resources in the same VNet. No, private endpoint means that you have inbound connectivity to your app service. Okay, it does not mean that app service can call outside. For that, you have to do VNet integration. You have to integrate that to a VNet attached to it, and at that moment, it drops its NICs, virtual NICs into that VNet, and you will be able to access resources through that virtual network. So let's say if you are want to access something on-prem and that VNet is connected to on-prem, then you will be able to do that. And vice versa. And same thing about the VNet integration. If you do VNet integration, it does not make your app service callable over a private endpoint, because it's the connectivity from app service to the VNet. It's not from VNet to the app service. And sorry, just to kind of spending some time on this, because this is important, and the discussion that we're going to, you know, uh, have the next few minutes, it will help better understand if you have a good grasp of this concept. Okay. Any questions? Okay, doke. So let's move on. So what we are talking about, as you know, private endpoint capabilities was announced, I think, sometimes back. It was in public preview, then it went GA, and it was supported only for the premium SKU. Okay, as you can see here, so there are two, and I put up, the red outline around those. One is virtual network connectivity. This is talking about connecting a app service to a VNet, so it can call resources in that VNet or through that VNet. Okay, that's the VNet integration that is supported for standard, premium, and isolated. We are not talking about this is app service environment, so let's keep that out of that discussion. We are talking about multi-tenant app service queue, which is premium, standard, basic, and then shared and free. And in this conversation, we are strictly focusing on basic, standard, and premium. So VNet connectivity, or what we normally call VNet integration, was supported for standard and premium, and private endpoints were only supported for premium. That was a big thing. And some of the customers said, we are not using premium function. I mean, premium features of the premium app service. Our app services are pretty small, or we can go with standard and basic, but we need private connectivity. And I think the product team has heard from those customers and got their feedback. And here is how it looks now. You know, so if you see that this is now supported, both private endpoint and VNet integration are both supported at the basic level, standard level, and premium level. So before, virtual network connectivity or VNet integration was only supported for standard and premium. Now basic is there. And private endpoint was only supported for premium. Now it is there for standard and basic. So this gives broad flexibility to customer. They can pick and choose. Okay, what app service they want to use. And since they can scale those SKU up and down, before it was, okay, if I have to bring that SKU down, oh, I will lose private connectivity feature, or I cannot do that without first turning that off and, then uh, bringing that SKU down. But now, no issue. So if you are not using the features of premium other than private endpoint, and you can live with standard and basic, this gives you a big cost saving opportunity. Okay, any questions? Okay, so let's jump into the demos now. So how you go about it, very simple. Let's go into our resource group. I have a resource group here, and I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna create a web app. Okay, Uh, just keep one thing in mind, and let me talk about it in 1 second. Let me just put some values there. This capability of creating private endpoints is only supported on the newer um, SKUs of app service, where the newer SKUs are supported. So just a bit of information. And by the way, this information is not kind of a NDA or anything. This is public information that we deploy app service in Stamps. Stamps is like a set of large server and which host app service. So this feature is supported with the newer stamps, the stamps that support PV3 SKU. So what is the PV3 SKU? Let's take a look. So if I go in here and change the size, it will give me an opportunity to see what SKUs are available. Okay. And I can pick this is so if on a stamp, that has PV3 SKU that will support this feature, like private endpoint support for basic and standard. How do you find out? So one trick, or I mean, one thing that I saw uh, on some public Q&A that is happening on response to this feature, that one of the support member suggested that you create an app service with PV3, like P1 V3, though you want to do basic. Okay, once you create it, that will guarantee that you are landing on a stamp that has the latest, I mean, that is the or the latest stamp that support basic and standard uh, private endpoints and all the new networking feature. Okay, and then downgrade it to basic, because that will still keep you on that stamp, though it will use the basic skill. So yeah, I mean, you will be charged for a few minutes for those PV3, but then you downgrade. Okay, that will guarantee it. Because if you just go with the basic SKU, it may put you it may put you on a stamp which does not have the which is may not have the latest updates, or the latest app service updates. So that's where you may not be able to create basic and standard private endpoint for basic and standard. Okay, everybody get it? Any questions?
So, hi, this is Ritesh here. I have a question.
Okay.
So what do we do with the existing app services? Will
Yeah.
they be able to upgrade to the new ones, or you drop them and create new ones?
Yeah, you have to drop them and create the new ones. Yeah, at the moment there is no path available.
Okay,
So
that
yeah,
might be a little bit of hassle for new
yeah,
ones, right?
I get it. I mean, but the thing is, if you wanna use private endpoint connectivity, you know that that is not there. So that's a new capability. So in any
Right.
case,
So
I
say
mean
you
that's
if
something
you
new.
were already using the old premium one, so would that get maybe like downgraded to a P1 V3 or P1 V2 here? Is
No, I
that
mean
possible?
if you're using P1 V2 that or
Mm-hmm.
P2 V2 or PV2s, they already have the private endpoint, so there is no need necessary. It's only when you oh, so you are saying that, let's say you are using PV2 only for private connectivity and now
Correct.
you want to use basic. Yeah,
Correct.
exactly. That then you are then you have to do that dance, basically, find somewhere where you have create a new basic site and then switch the private endpoints, and yes, that
Right,
would
because a lot of time that would be the
yeah,
scenario, right? People would
yeah,
not really use that capacity, but just to
yeah,
get the private
just to
endpoint, they
get the
would have
private endpoint.
over
I
provision,
get
so
it.
to speak, right? So,
Yeah. At the
okay,
moment there is no plan available. Who knows?
okay,
So yeah.
no worries. Thank you.
So that's that. So any other question? Okay. So with that, um, so basically you will just pick up PV3 and you will say apply and you will create it and then you downgrade it. We are not going to go through the whole thing, creation and all that. And what we are going to do is I already have an app service and I just want to show it to you that that we have. So this is the app service. Yeah, this is the one, app 01. And let's go into the networking tab. And you see here, this once again clearly explains it. Inbound private endpoint, or this is the way you restrict traffic for inbound and access control. Outbound VNet integration. So just keep that in mind and remind your customers as well, or the folks that you're working with, that this is, I mean, you have to tie two ends if you want both of these. But in any case, you can see here I already created a private endpoint for this app. And oh, let me show you the SKU of this app first, just to make sure that everybody's like the same page. This is, I'm running a B1 plan. This is a basic B1 Linux plan. Okay. And going back to networking, sorry, I think I went to the wrong place. Yes, let's go in here. Networking, outbound traffic. I am attaching it to a VNet as well, which is app subnet. And this is a VNet that I have created and it's running in North Central and it's connecting. So all of that is there with a basic app, which was not possible before. So this is the proof. And just to kind of further taking it further, let's try to access this web application and hopefully let's try to access it. 403. That's pretty, that's what we expected because once you do a private endpoint, the access is blocked. Okay, so let's go in and let's go. I'm gonna take you to a web app where, oh, sorry, at a VM which is running in the same VNet where we have dropped this private endpoint. So let me get the URL of the app. This is the URL. Go back here, paste the URL, and here we go. So we can access it. So as you can see, just to with show and tell, all of that connectivity end to end is there. Okay, so that's the first thing. The second part is in order to simplify, I mean, the second topic that I want to talk about, in order the enhancements that I want to talk about, is that the process of this setting up or configuring the networking is now available when you are creating the web app. Before you have to create the web app and then do VNet integration and all that. Not anymore. That is in public preview. Oh, by the way, just want to mention this private endpoint capability for basics and standard is in GA. So you can, I mean, if your customers are waiting for GA, it's there. I think it just went out and went into GA. The other thing that I'm talking about, which is the ability to create an app service and set up networking right there and then, that is in public preview. And let's take a look at that. So here is, I am going to create a web app and let's go in here. And once again, let me just pick one of the boilerplate stuff and I'm just going to name it one and just pick up some random stack. Okay. And I am going to pick North Central US and Linux. Yeah. Okay. So let's move on and forget the deployment. We're going to go to networking. Okay. So it talk about network injection. Um, So what that means is setting up the network capabilities and explain pretty well what you are doing and outbound traffic and inbound traffic. So if I mean you or your customer hasn't worked with it, it's a good idea to go read that particular resource that it is referring to and all that. But this is what you're going to be doing. You're going to say, okay, I'm going to turn it on. First, it will ask you, do you want to set it up with a VNet integration? And once you do that, then it will open up inbound and outbound access. Okay, what you want to do? Do you want to set up the inbound access? And if you turn it on, then it will ask about, okay, what VNet that you want to connect to, what will be your private endpoint name, what would be the subnet name. So you can pick a subnet and then you can connect to it. On the other hand, if you wanna, and this is as I'm saying, this is the inbound and this is the outbound. Okay, and you can use a custom DNS. So all of that setup that you want to do, all of that thing is here, and you don't have to you can do it at the creation time, through this portal, all of that. No need to do it afterwards. All of that information is at your fingertips, in this. And this is currently this UI. And just keep in mind, some people have been kind of some of the customer they ask, okay, we thought private endpoints were in GA, but why it is saying preview? So this is the UI that is in preview. The capability is GA. The UI, this particular UI is the one that is in preview. So just to uh, clarify the whole thing, sometimes it becomes confusing. Like, okay, we thought that private endpoints were GA, but they are GA. This UI is currently in public preview. Any questions on that? Okay. So let's move on. So basically, you will use that, and you can use your custom DNS. I mean, if you want to set up a manual DNS and all that, and it will set up all of that stuff. Inbound subnet mean where you're going to be dropping this private endpoint. You can create a new one, or you can use an existing one. Okay. So with that, that's that particular feature that I want to talk about. The third one is although it's may seem kind of a not that significant, but it's very powerful, and it was a big kind of a ask for customers, ask from customers who were using mounting files to their app service for one reason or the other. And that feature is ability to mount file shares on Windows Code website. So there are three app services as we know, or type of app services as we know. Linux, which is running on Linux, and they use containers behind the scene. Second one is containers. So basically, that's where you create your containers and you run it. Okay. And the third one is Windows, which is you don't, I mean, you don't pick a container, you say, I'm going to run on Windows, and you pick one of the type of code like Java or .NET or things like that. So that's, or you run .NET framework, for example. So that app service did not have support to mount files, file storage to the app service. So with that, um, let's say that your app is processing data and you want to put this data into a file share, okay? Or maybe it is reading data from a file share and doing something. In that case, you need a file share mount, and that capability was not there for Windows Code App Service. That capability is there now. The way you do it, first of all, let me just go in here and let's go into our storage account that we have. Um, oh, wrong one. Okay, so I'm going to go into the storage account and I'm going to create a file share and I'm going to call it. And I'm just going to pick the defaults. So file share is created. Let's say we want to mount this file share into our web app. So this is a Windows web app. This is not Windows containers. This is basically a simple web app that is, and if we go into configuration, you can see here, give it a second to pop up. General settings, it's using .NET LTS 6.0. So basically running .NET apps. Okay. So with that, what you're going to do is you're going to go into path mapping, and then you're going to say, I want to mount a new storage. It will ask you the name. We can call it APL files, give it any name. Okay, there are two tabs here, the two buttons. Basic, if you are using, if you are not using any firewalls, like you're not using a private endpoint of a storage account, or you are not using any service endpoints, in that case, just use basic and it will be able to pick up your storage name. So here we go. There is our storage account. This is our storage account. It will give you an option what container. This is APL files, and what is the name of the mount. We're gonna call it demo, and that's it. But if you are in advanced mode, you will use that if you are using, so if you are using, for example, private endpoints. Okay, in that case, I just want to show it to you without picking up. In that case, that mode, you will have to type everything in and you have to use access key and all that. And with that, it will set up with the basic mode, it will get all that information from your account and go from there. But in any case, that is there. You can mount uh, setups, and I already have one mounted. I can go in and edit it, all that. So now my that capability is now available. Just keep in mind this is in public preview. So um, sometime in the future will go GA, but just keep that in mind. So two of them are in public preview. The things that we talked about, the one that is the private endpoint support for basic and standard and VNet integration support for basic, it is in GA. So with that, that's all I was planning to cover. I have a link to resources here. All these updates you can see here. So with that, any questions? I know we have 2 more minutes. Okay, if there are no more questions, then I will give everybody their 2 minutes back and hope to see everyone next week for another session of Azure Power Lunch, and have a wonderful rest of your day and a weekend. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Bye.
Thank you.